Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt. Welcome back to Far Lands or Bust. Woof, that's Wolfie right there. He didn't waste any time. I'm actually a little bit concerned I might not be able to edit in the start of that because the world was still loading before he woofed, but here we are. I almost forgot that we ended the last episode in a zombie spawner. I don't think I left anything important in the chests here. No, saddle, bucket, gunpowder. Meh items. Let's break out. That is not the way out. Which way is the way out, Wolfie? Is it this way? No, I think it was this way. Yeah, this way. A little bit concerned, although I don't hear any sound effects. So we can break out. Break out. And yeah, I think we could be safe. Well, Wolfie is actually standing up. Oh, okay, he came out. I was going to say, oh, no, he's going back in. All right, secure the hidey hole, kind of the insecure hidey hole. It's insecure. It is unsure about its abilities and its path in life. But we're going to continue on west. An exciting end to last episode, and an underwhelming beginning to this episode. But west in episode 359. 359. Today is Friday, May 30th. 2014, and we're still raising money for Child's Play charity over at farlandsorbust.com. We are up to $2,253. We've had a long string of episodes here where we have had no remaining cents. We have no cents. Of course, this entire journey is nonsensical, but that's unprecedented. Unprecedented? No, that didn't work out. Anyway, continuing, like I said, raising money for Child's Play charity. I do appreciate the continued donations, helping get toys, books, games to kids in hospitals around the world. And Child's Play charity also just announced opening up there. I mentioned this before, that they were working on it. They talked about it last year at PAX during I always want to call them a forum. It's not a forum. It's I am at a convention, and I'm going to go see a panel at the Child's Play charity panel that they were expanding beyond simply just hospitals and helping out domestic violence centers and getting kind of pre-built gaming and related, I suppose, hubs, consoles, kind of like an arcade box to those domestic violence shelters for the kids who are there. And they recently announced that they've opened up applications for that over at childsplaycharity.org. I suppose you could learn more about that, but yeah, that's a cool thing. So it's more than meets the eye, much like Transformers. The Child's Play charity and what they do. So yeah, all of this, what we're doing, what we're raising money for, helps that cause as well. Indeed. Woof. Yes, indeed. Let's take an easy path around here. I break the cactus. Got this question a few episodes ago, but I break the cacti because Wolfie is a bit of a derp. A bit is an understatement, but tends to like to just run face first into cactus and cause a bunch of damage. We had a very close call a while ago. There is a Far Lands Bust flashback related to that, but that's the reason why I am pretty obsessive about breaking down the cactus. Not because I have any sort of phobia of cacti, but it's a safety concern for Wolfie. So yeah, we're continuing on. I did, what did I mention? PAX. I mentioned PAX. PAX Prime happening at the end of August into the beginning of September. Tickets went on sale on... When did they go on sale? Wednesday? They went on sale, and every single one of them, all the 4-day passes, all the single-day passes, sold out in about 20 minutes. I was recording at the time, and I came back online to see that, I saw that they were sold out before I saw that they were actually on sale. I think I'm on a little bit of a ledge here. We're on a ledge. which we will not be able to safely descend. I think over here we should be able to. We do have water buckets. Water buckets. Something... No, I won't say it. I won't. Spoiler alert, but some of you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, PAX, I think that's probably the fastest they sold out in. And it was just kind of funny. It's that South Park thing. Oh, PAX Prime tickets are on sale, and they're gone. So, oh well. I have no announcement to make as to whether or not I would be going or not to PAX Prime. I went last year. It remains to be seen what my convention schedule would provide. I have mentioned many times that I have other expenses and plans for my life that may take priority over convention time this year. Last year was kind of convention year for old KurtJMac, he says, having gone to 2 conventions. But so yeah, no announcements from myself per se in that regard, but that happened. So hopefully those of you who wanted to go maybe got tickets. If not, don't go buying tickets on the internet for like 20 times their face value. You can normally wait until right about the time, the weeks running up to it, and you can usually find people who still have tickets who have not gotten rid of them, or people who bought tickets speculating they'd be able to go, but suddenly they're not able to go, so they'll sell them for face value. So yeah, don't give in to the panic that everything has been sold out, because you'll be fine. It's all good. Don't freak out. Don't panic. It's all good. So yeah, continuing west here, kind of northwest, trying to zero out that y-axis of coordinates. And yeah, I don't press F3. I've kind of switched it up. I traditionally don't press F3 until we reach our charity goals, and we have a flobathon. Kind of switched that up this season and saying, well, maybe since the last season it took over, like... What is this splooshing we hear? Okay, we can't stick around here to investigate because there's cactuses and Wolfie is attracted to them. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it was over a year and a half or whatever between times I pressed F3. So I feel like it'll be more of an annual thing, Flobathons, perhaps around that May time period when we started Far Lands or Bust, the series. Or not May, March 6th, I believe, is when I started, or 7th. Something like that. So we'll look more forward to that, but yeah, I don't press F3 because it's kind of part of the mystery. When you're out exploring in real life, well, I suppose nowadays with GPS and whatnot, you're able to pinpoint your exact location on the planet, which is probably good for your long-term survival. But in general, as part of an exploration and a walk-a-thon, it's one of the mysterious things. Yes, the Far Lands are mysterious, and this jitteriness and the floating point precision errors and 32 bits and bytes and bops. But also it's the mystery of how far we're going and how much further we have to go. It's part of the series, part of the allure, if you will, the manufactured allure that I've added to the series. Also, Wolfie's derpiness and his questionable survival tactics on his own, but yeah, indeed. Also, some. Oh, wow, this day went by fast. Seems like it went by fast. Piano music. Thank you for making this moment all the more dramatic, but I have a little bit more. I have a lot of space news. I gotta be careful that this is just gonna turn into space news, the Minecraft series. But last night, Elon Musk of SpaceX, they introduced and they revealed the design for their Dragon version 2.0 capsule. The Dragon capsule, of course, version 1.0 has been the unmanned capsule that launches atop the Falcon 9 rocket to the International Space Station. The V2 is the manned capsule of the Dragon design. Looks a little bit different. Has 7 seats, the same capabilities as the space shuttle. The Soyuz only has 3 seats, so has 7 seats, the capability to launch 7 astronauts to the International Space Station or elsewhere. And really cool, very, you know, they're very focused on the futuristic design. You know, they don't want to make it look like an Apollo-era capsule like the Soyuz pretty literally is. You know, there's the interior is very, very futury and plush looking, and there are, you know, instead of all buttons and knobs and switches, there are 3 very large flat panel touchscreen displays that are the control panels. And also it lands with rockets. It doesn't land in a parachute in the ocean. It much like the first stage of the Falcon 9 is going to return to Earth under its own power and land like a helicopter. And there's a spawner. Let's explore that in the morning. Oh, God, I'm getting all wet and snow in my mouth while I'm trying to sleep. Whoa, I don't know that that's ever happened before. I mean, it's happened before. It's rained. I don't know that we've seen snow before in this world. A brief moment in time, we saw some snow there. But yeah, normally, I think only in the past it's rained, like, at the end of the episode. Wolfie was excited about that. Crazy. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go back to the tape to see if we've ever seen snow in this world. It used to be in the old Minecraft that, you know, before they actually added variable weather, that you would sometimes get a snow world where all it would do is snow and everything would be covered in snow. All right, we're going to do that for quick escape. What kind of spawner is this? Zombie. Rob Zombie. What do we got in here? Oh, can't select it. Oh, it's a double chest. Yep, all right. Whoa, okay, we got, I can top off on wheat. Spooky noises, a bunch of saddles and string and bread. I'm all right on my health, so I don't need that. All right, kind of interesting. Wolfie agrees. Let's continue on. So yeah, it was. It's kind of a. I didn't watch the entire presentation. It's on YouTube. You can if you'd like. But yeah, they had like a big reveal, and they say they're going to hopefully have the first launch of the capsule unmanned, just a test launch, in 2014, and the first. Ooh, I'm gonna sneeze. And we're good. Ooh. Holy heck, Wolfie. No, okay, yep. Wow. This is on par with the dark and magical pit of bottomless destiny. That just goes on for days. Alright. I'm a little bit suspicious of this cow. Feels like he's plotting to push me in. Alright. Yeah, that part. Wow, look at how deep that goes. I'm going to try to get a better angle on it here. Let's try to see. It's not about getting to the far lands as quickly as possible. We are exploring terrain generation. I mean, that's basically what the series is about, is exploring the terrain generation. It was inspired by the... Over here, Wolfie, over here, Wolfie, over here, Wolfie. Ooh, that's interesting. It was inspired by the blog post by Notch, called Terrain Generation, Part 1. There never was a Part 2 or 3, but where he talks about and first introduces the phrase far lands, where he introduces when the math breaks down, and he says, oh, nobody's ever going to reach there and while playing the game normally, vanilla. And I'm like, so you say, good sir. I will see you in 22 years. So yeah, that's why we stop by and check out cool stuff like that. Not as impressive. The dark and magical pit of bottomless destiny was a little bit more foreboding because it got really dark and there was lava at the bottom, so there was an overwhelming sense of foreboding. Boding. I'm boding right now. What was I saying? I was talking about the SpaceX, the Dragon. So as early as 2014, the first not 2014, 2015, the first actual launch. I'm assuming they'll launch it kind of as a test to the International Space Station. And then 2016, they're saying 2016, just 2 years for the first manned flight. And I remember when I went to, this is coming in handy. When I went to the SpaceX NASA tweet up for the first Dragon launch, I missed the launch because it was scrubbed there at the last second. But Garrett Reisman, the astronaut who is now working for SpaceX, was talking to us when we went out to the launch pad. Yes, we went out to the launch pad the day before launch to check it out, and he was saying how, the unmanned capsule is one thing, but they have to get certified and rated for manned flight, and one of those things is to have an escape tower. And instead of a escape tower, they're actually using the integrated rockets that they're also going to use for landing the capsule as the escape rockets. That is, if something is to go south with the rocket beneath it, the capsule can, in an emergency, detach and fly far, far away to rescue the astronauts. So that's something that is required by NASA in all manned spaceflight, although the space shuttle had no such system. But there's that. But he also said, he's working on, as an astronaut who has experience, obviously, going into space. He is, I think that's his lead. He is the lead consultant, designer, the lead, the president of the manned Dragon capsule. Whoa, that was an enthusiastic attack there, Wolfie. And he said, we're going to, he said even, they haven't picked a crew for that first crew or anything like that, but he said, as a member of that team, he wouldn't put anybody else in the capsule if he himself didn't feel comfortable going in the capsule for that first launch. So I would be surprised if Garrett Reisman wasn't on that first crew list. To be honest with you, so, I feel like after the space shuttle got canceled, he probably was looking at the next way he could get into space on an American spacecraft. So that's probably his career path he chose. Just speculation on my part, but that would make sense. So yeah, very cool stuff. Anyway, continuing on, it's Friday, and in the past I've suggested maybe I should make it like Fan Friday. This is where I answer questions from the fans. We'll answer more questions from the fans, but that's every day. Every day is Fan Farlands or Bust Day. And I did get a question in the YouTube comments. Surprising, I know. But from Antcat, asked me to talk more about the whitewater rafting. Whitewater rafting I did whilst in Oregon. And I suppose I can talk about that. Looks like a spawner, but not a spawner. And yeah, like I said, a couple weeks ago, I went to Oregon, went into Portland, went out west to the coast and drove down the coast for a couple days. And then, I made that. And then went back to Portland, and then went east along the Columbia River Gorge, which is a very cool place. I should keep that sand. How am I running out of dirt, of all things? And it's a very cool drive as well. You can drive along, is it 30? Historic Route 30? I think it's 30. And it goes by a bunch of cool waterfalls and stuff that come down from the mountains and then into the Columbia River Gorge and whatnot. Very cool. But I went out to a place called Salmon River. It is near, where is it near? Hood River? Hood River is kind of a small, kind of a major, but a small town, and then across the river into Washington. So technically I was in Washington when I did the whitewater rafting, and we did it on the Salmon River. It was a half-day thing. They have full-day things where you whitewater raft and then break for lunch and then whitewater raft some more. But I was a little bit concerned because being May, there's still snow. This is all water coming from the mountains from Hood Mountain, obviously, Hood River, Hood Mountain, and Mount Hood. That's what it's called, Mount Hood. I'm like, that didn't sound right. Mount Hood, Mount St. Helens, all the mountains, the whole mountain, the mountains over there. So the water is very, very cold. And I was concerned, still being May, the average temperature around that area, around Portland, Oregon, elsewhere, is about 60 degrees. So I was a little bit concerned about the coldness, more so than I was concerned about the rapidsness and the falling out of the boatness. But it actually turned out all right. They are having unseasonably warm weather. Hooray for global warming! Yay, we're ruining our planet. But yeah, I got very lucky that it was like 90 degrees, upper 80s, when I went whitewater rafting, which helps. The water is still 40 degrees. and honestly, the first couple hours was all right, but the last few hours is when I started to feel, all right, this wetsuit, its thermal properties are starting to fail on me as we got further down the river, and started to feel quite cold. Also, the first part of the river is there were quite a lot of rapids, and there were actually, because it was so warm, they were getting a lot of water, and we actually had to unfortunately skip some parts of that river. Their claim to fame is that there's a waterfall that is one of the biggest waterfalls that they can go down in commercial rafting, with unexperienced beginner rafters. I've never been rafting before, never done whitewater rafting. I always thought it looked cool and interesting, but never been whitewater rafting. But unfortunately, we had to get out and walk around that because it was too crazy, and they weren't allowed to take us noobs down that part of the river. Unfortunate. But let's go to sleep, and we will continue discussing such things as these. Oh, I got turned around. Such things as these in the morning. And awakeness. How did I miss that? Did I miss that? Oh, I must have been boating around it, but that's kind of a cool little area. That's a shame. I could probably get back in my boat. Yeah, let's get back in my boat. Speaking of whitewater rafting, let's do a little bit of rafting ourselves. But yeah, never been whitewater rafting. Yeah, we had to go around that area. But it was really cool. I would do it again. And, I suppose, like I said, I wasn't as nervous about, the danger aspect of it. I was more nervous about doing something wrong because I don't know if you've ever seen whitewater rafting or heard of it. Basically, you have a guide in the back who, for the majority of it, steers the boat. But in order to move forward, there are 6 people, us, on the boat, and he tells us when to row. Okay, 2 forward, or left side row, right side, backwards, brace was a thing, get down when we go through the rough parts of the rapids so we don't fall out. So I was always, I suppose, the social anxiety, performance anxiety? Is that the right term? Probably not. Let's not say that. I was always concerned about doing something that would make the captain upset. It's a weird phobia of mine, but everything went well. It's an interesting experience. You got a few times where things got really rough, and I almost fell out once. You think you sit in the boat, and I suppose that was one misconception that I went in with, but you actually sit on the side of the boat. The middle of the boat is kind of just there for structural rigidity. You sit on the side of the boat, and you put you wedge one of your feet underneath these kind of footholds inside the boat, and that's, there's no belts or anything. Obviously, you don't want belts, because if you capsize, you're screwed. There's no belts, there's nothing really holding you onto the boat except for your foot and your own, weight distribution. But there are a few times where I kind of slipped, and you get that feeling whoop, and a little bit of panic, but it was really fun. And like I said, the water was cold, but it was a good time, and they give you a wetsuit and everything. That's another thing. You always feel like you're underprepared. Basically, they say, okay, just wear a swimsuit, and we give you everything else. You get the booties, you get the wetsuit, the over little shirt thing that protects your arms, and then the life vests that they really strap you into, and a helmet, and your paddle, and you're all set. But yeah, I would recommend it. I would recommend it indeed. It's kind of one of those things. I wish I lived in an area where there was actual outdoorsy things to do. Here in Chicago, it's not so much, it's the outdoorsy thing to do is the cornfields are out there. There's some forest preserves and some things if you get a little bit further south, but nothing, quite outdoorsy like out in the Rocky Mountains or the West Coast or the Southwest, the desert and stuff like that. So, it was I think it was like $60 for that half-day excursion. That's a day out in Chicago, with the prices of parking and eating and shopping or seeing a show or whatever. That's a good deal for a day's worth of activities. And one of the guys on our boat was an older guy who says, yeah, he just comes out here and does this, twice a month or so. He lives in the area, and all of the people who worked at the place and the guides knew him by name. He's just an older guy, perhaps, I'm sure he could get his own kayak or boat or something like that and do it himself. But no, he'll just pay them and be a tourist for a day. So that's kind of a cool thing. I could see myself getting into that if I lived in an area like that. But yeah, I would. It's very fun. Another kind of part of the excursion was, instead of going over that dramatic waterfall on the White Salmon River, there was a kind of an overpass, a bridge, that we took a little break by, and he said, all right, if anybody wants to jump off the bridge into the river, this is where we can do that. And it was a good 30 or so feet above the water, and I'm like, sure, what the hell? And that was interesting. I'm not a thrill seeker. I don't really jump out of airplanes or bungee jump, or I'm not an adrenaline junkie, I suppose is the coined term for that type of person. But in that situation, it's kind of like, when else am I going to be out here? And when else am I going to get the opportunity to do this? So sure, they asked me if I want to jump off a bridge into this these rapids underneath me. It was kind of a calmer part of the river, obviously. Sure, why not? And that was fun. It feels like you get about half the river up your nostrils, which is a uncomfortable and unpleasant experience. But yeah, you jump off the bridge. I said Geronimo in true Doctor Who fashion. Splash, and you gain a lot of momentum when jumping. I don't know if any of you done cliff diving or anything like that. I did something similar in Mexico when you go out on the excursions to look at Chichen Itza. As part of that excursion, they take you to a cenote, which are those underground cave water, like in Minecraft. Minecraft has a bunch of cenotes, those underground pools of water. And there was a little ledge that was maybe about 20 feet up that you could jump off into, and that was kind of cool. So it's like, I am an opportunistic thrill seeker, I suppose. If I am in a situation and given the opportunity, much like when I did the NASCAR drive with the NASCAR driver thing around Chicagoland Speedway, it's like, I got this as a gift. Sure, why not? Let's go. Let's drive around the track. 170 miles an hour. I didn't drive. I was in the passenger seat, but yeah, ride along as it was called. So yeah, opportunistic thrill seeker. That is a term I have just coined. Put that on a t-shirt. Sell it for $18.99 at Spreadshirt.com. No. But yeah, it was a cool thing. I would recommend such things as these. And that, like I said, was on the White Salmon River. There's a bunch of companies in that area. It's kind of a recreational area, so I think they take advantage of that do rafting. I would consider kayaking. It's a little bit... I don't know if I would prefer it or not, because kayaking, you're kind of in charge of yourself, as opposed to the rafting. You're under the command of somebody else, and like I said, you don't want to let that person down. So with the kayaking, as an introvert, that might be more my speed, and it's kind of like, well, you're on your own, and you're responsible for your own life or death. So enjoy. So maybe kayaking is something I would enjoy, but that's definitely requires something of a little bit more practice, and they do have lessons and things there at the same place. But yeah, I'd do more stuff like that, maybe in a different location. I know there are places up the Grand Canyon there, the Colorado River, that do rafting. I would probably be interested in as well. it's an interesting, I'm normally used to hiking trails and things like that. It's a different way to experience the natural wonders around you. And I just fell through some natural wonders of cheaty snow. Cheaty snow, Wolfie. Yeah, you're not interested. So yeah, thank you very much for that question. I talked a lot about that, didn't I? Haha! Content. Let's see. Let's look at another question here for what is not officially known as Fan Friday. Here we go. Yeah, let's from LabTech. That's a familiar name. LabTech 901. Are there any new or upcoming flight sim games that have tickled your fancy? How realistic do you like your simulator experience? Arcade or hardcore realism? And yeah, I have a few old episodes up of IL-2 Sturmovik, and I tried, and I even was attempting. It was going to be a whole series and everything. It was episode 01 of War Thunder, but I didn't like that too much. And I did purchase and try IL-2 Sturmovik Cliffs of Dover, which I immediately regret and cannot get a refund for because Steam, terrible game, barely runs, and I don't even know why it's on Steam. Thumbs down on that review on Steam. Wolfie, there he is. Oh yeah, and I also played Microsoft Flight for a little bit. Bad to you too. It's a shame. It's one of those genres of games that doesn't do too well. There doesn't seem to be a clear front runner of a good fun flight sim. I like a balance. I've played a lot of the original IL-2 Sturmovik, 1946 or 2 or whatever it's called. And that was pretty intense on the sim level of things, and I really enjoyed that part of it, but I don't think it would be good for commentary because it is the type of game where, you're a fighter pilot in wherever you are, the RAF or something like that, and you have to fly a mission. Okay, you actually have to fly, depending on how you can accelerate time or not. You have to actually fly the distance to get to France or Germany or something, which is, if you go at one time, acceleration is like an hour-and-a-half flight. Do your battle and come home. That's not exactly the most friendly for, keeping the excitement up on YouTube. But then again, I also was not a fan of how arcade the War Thunder gameplay was. It seemed like that game was definitely built for the keyboard and mouse setup player, and I do have a joystick. I suppose if I was going to get into flight sims, I would probably want to upgrade the joystick because it still connects via serial port, so I have to have a serial to USB connector. And I know there are other options out there. People, and there's also the full-on flight sims. Like Microsoft Flight was the arcade version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I know there is the Microsoft Flight Simulator X that people have recommended to me. But again, it's raining again. Climate change here in Far Lands or Bust. Wow, this an unprecedented series of events here in Far Lands or Bust. We had snow mid-episode for possibly the first time, and now 2 occurrences of rain, weather in a single episode. Crazy stuff. It's kind of cool. What did I do? There we go. That's what I did. Sorry, Wolfie. You'll dry off. Got a boat, need some wood. So yeah, I'm not sure. There's none I'm looking forward to. The Ace Combat series went to crap as far as I can tell from all the reviews of the last few ones, and then they ended up being console-only choices, and that's real a shame. Very arcadey. Yeah, I mean, I like to have realistic flight physics. but, you know, one-shot deaths are also a little bit annoying, and the whole flying an hour to your sortie is a little bit annoying. So, you know, whenever you get into those arcade gameplays, you end up flying on rails, and then blah, blah, blah. It's hard to find a balance, so I don't know if you have any suggestions in the comments below. You can let me know. To the balance, much like I enjoy my racing simulators, to have a nice balance. A little bit more on the simulator side, but a balance. Bring balance to the Force, Anakin. That's the way that cookie crumbles. So yeah, thank you very much for those questions, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Far Lands or Bust, episode 359. Have a good weekend. I will see you in June. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.